Hey guys, Paul Adie here from Cyber Adie Forensics. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about the Velociraptor Offline Collector. Reason I wanted to talk about the Offline Collector is I feel it's rather underappreciated, and it's been a few years since there's been some good videos on it on YouTube. I think the last was maybe 4 years ago. I saw Michael Cohen, the creator, did a video, and I think there might have been a Sans video out there as well. But things have changed a lot in the last 4 years, and the offline collector has gotten a lot better. So let's jump in and take a closer look at it. If you are unfamiliar with Velociraptor, it is a free forensic program that is available for download on GitHub right here. So GitHub, Velocidex, Velociraptor. Once you go to that website, you're going to go down towards the bottom right, and you're going to click on the latest release. Let's go ahead and do that. Velociraptor was meant to be a live collection, meaning that you would set up a server, Linux server in the cloud, like in either AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, etc., and your endpoints would relay the data back to the server that you had set up, and you would monitor that in a user interface. And like I said, there's a ton of videos on how to do that on YouTube. Now, you might ask, why would you want to use the offline collector? Well, if your client or victim does not, their internet is down, or perhaps one of the endpoints or servers just cannot connect to the internet, or in the case of like a ransomware attack, the victim may be freaking out and does not want to connect to the internet. So in that case, your Velociraptor Live option is not going to work because it needs an internet connection. So you're going to have to do an offline collection, which does not require internet at all. And that happens frequently when you go on engagements. That one or more computers may not be on the internet. So we're going to scroll down, and we are looking for this bad boy right here, the Velociraptor 75.6, the AMD64 version. Let's go ahead and click on that, and that should get dumped into your downloads folder. We'll go to our downloads folder, and there it is right there. Now, to run Velociraptor, get yourself an administrator command prompt. Let's navigate to the downloads folder. And there it is, the Velociraptor exe. Now we're going to do space GUI. We could hit enter if you want. The problem is all of our configuration files get dumped into our temp directory. And the temp directory is very volatile. It gets cleared out by Windows whenever Windows feels like it. So I've been in instances where I've done this collection right here, just a regular Velociraptor's GUI, and some of my configuration files get wiped out. And that's not a good thing because then your offline collector is not going to work properly. So what I recommend is Velociraptor space GUI. Let's go ahead and add another folder in here in our downloads. Let's call it, and you can call it anything you want. I'm going to say Velociraptor, let's call it underscore data. Let's see, I could call it Paul if I want, that would be fine. So we'll go here, we're going to put in the flag tac data store. And this says, hey, look for the following directory. That's where we're going to dump all the configuration files and all the important stuff. So we're going to put it into this new folder that we created, Velociraptor data. Hit enter. And then what happens is Velociraptor fires up, and it's now putting its configuration file into that folder we created. Let's click on advanced. We'll click on continue. And here's the user interface for Velociraptor. Okay, now to build your offline collector, before we hit build offline collector, I like to do one step prior to that. Let's go to import extra artifacts right here. And we're going to basically add one more artifact that's not normally in there. So we're going to hit configure parameters. Let's expand on this, the server import extras. And what I really like is the triage artifacts. I'm going to add that into my collector. So let's get rid of this other stuff right here. So triage artifacts is the only one that we got. We're going to hit launch and then give it just a moment. And when you get that check mark, it means it's completely downloaded. So we now have, we're going to get a triage folder that we're going to use a bit later when we do our collection. So if you've gotten kind of lost at this point right here, one of the ways to get back into the offline collector is you could hit on the green Velociraptor right there, or we can just click right on this build offline collector. Okay. At this point, you're going to start adding the artifacts that you want into your collector. I'm going to have a complete list at the end of this video of all the artifacts that I like to add, but let's keep it simple for now. So let's say we wanted to add prefetch. I like to do, these Windows Attack, Windows Forensics, the timeline. I don't like it so much. Let's say we wanted to do Windows services. And like I say, I'll have a complete list of everything that I like to use later. So Windows.System.Services. So every time we click on one of these, it kind of gets added to the grocery list here. And let's say we also wanted to do, let's say, scheduled tasks. Now, obviously, you're going to have a lot more than just this, but I'm just kind of throwing a couple in here. And you can kind of preview it. If you want to take a look, like, what does this do here? Okay, this one looks at the event logs or scheduled tasks. Yeah, sounds great. Okay. I also like to do what we downloaded, and that's the triage. So Windows triage targets. We'll click on that. I like to do that last, and you'll see why in a moment here. All right, now my collection, I typically have a bunch. I got like maybe 20 normally. Like I say, I'll have a list of them at the end of the video or link to the video. But here's everything that we put in so far. So prefetch, services, scheduled tasks. Now the triage, we have to go ahead and configure this a bit. Just click on it, and this is going to basically download or add to your collection some raw files. So I like to use the basic collection. You can use the sans triage if you want. That gives you more, but I like the basic collection because it's a little bit smaller. That's going to give you all of the raw event logs. It'll give you the raw registry, SAM system, security software, anti-user.dats, and you get other data as well too. I think it even throws in prefetch and others if you want to rip those manually, with like a Eric Zimmerman tool or some other tool of your choice. Okay, we go to configure collection. You can leave a lot of this default right here. But one thing that I do like to change is the output format. So JSON is a little bit hard to look at. I like to go CSV and JSON. So you can look at these, the collection, the kind of the raw output if you wanted. You could look at it in Excel if you wanted to, if you didn't want to parse it back into Velociraptor. So I kind of leave everything else default. And resources, we're going to leave that. It's going to go 100%. We're fine with that. And then let's go launch. So you're going to wait just a few seconds, and then up here, you're going to get this server utils create collector. Once you get the check mark, it means that it's done processing that collector. Now to go ahead and download it, we're going to click on our Uploads Files tab, and then you're just going to click on this. It even says like download file. So this is your collector Velociraptor 75.6. Click on that, and that gets thrown into our downloads. Now Windows is kind of screaming here saying it's not a commonly downloaded file. Okay, great. We're going to say keep, and then Windows being Windows is going to say, are you sure? Yeah, we are. Keep anyways. All right. And then if we go into our downloads folder, we've now got our collector right here. Now what I've done is I've taken the offline collector that we created and I put it on an external hard drive, this Forensics 02 on the E drive, and I've gone over to a potentially compromised host, which is called PC01. You can even see, it looks like there's like a ransomware file on the desktop here. It's never a good sign. But you can see we do not have a internet connection at the bottom right here, so that's why I'm using the offline collector. So the offline collector is going to need administrator permissions. I'm already signed into a domain admin user. So if you had like a regular user, you would just need to get an admin password to run this. You could either, right-click, run as administrator, yeah, or if you're on an admin computer, admin user, just go ahead and double-click it. So I'm just going to go ahead and double-click it here. Velociraptor kicks off and it starts doing its thing. And what happens is you get this zip file that gets created. So it's called collection, then it puts the host name in, and then the date and the time of the collection. So it's nice and organized. And you also have a log file right here that runs all of the collections that occurred. Now this collector can take anywhere from a couple minutes to upwards of perhaps 20 minutes, depending on how many artifacts you're running and also how much data is on the computer. If you have a ton of web history, a lot of in your the registry, etc., it's going to take a while. Now this is a kind of a small computer here, so there's not a whole lot. Once the collector gets done, you just push enter and you're good to go. You've got it on your forensic drive and we can take it back for processing. I am back on my forensic machine and I've got the hard drive Forensics 02 that we put our collection, our PC from PC01 just a moment earlier. We've got that on our forensic machine right here. Let me just unzip this so we can take a peek under the hood and see what we actually collected. Put that up there. I just want to show you a couple different ways to go ahead and analyze the data that we collected in case things just go to hell here, like your Velociraptor just doesn't load or you put it in the temp file by accident and everything got purged out. You can still look at your data. So if we open up this collection folder right here, we've got uploads and we've got results. Let's take a look at the uploads first. These are all of your raw files from the Windows operating system. They have not been parsed by Velociraptor, but there's a ton of good data in here. For example, we've got prefetch right here, and these are all the raw prefetch files. So you can see, the evidence of execution, and you could process them further if you wanted using something like Eric Zimmerman's prefetch program. We've also have, System 32. We're getting all of the event logs and WinEvent logs. Here's all of your raw event logs. Like I say, these are unprocessed, but you could use a tool like Chainsaw or Hayabusa that use Sigma rules, and it will look through all of the event logs or all the important ones, and it'll parse out anything malicious it finds in there. Spoiler alert, Velociraptor Live, you can use Hayabusa, but the offline collector as of version 75.6, you cannot put Hayabusa into the offline collection. you'd have to do that separately. So I could go to GitHub, download Hayabusa, and then I could say, take a look at all these event logs, and that would start finding, bad stuff in there potentially. That's typically my first stop, is I like to throw Hayabusa at event logs, whether I'm doing Velociraptor Live or an offline collector. So one other thing that we've got is, we took a look at uploads, let's look at results. Now remember, we said, we did our collector, we said let's make it JSON and let's make it CSV. And the reason is, let's say you wanted to go ahead and take a look at these files in another method. So I could say, let's look at this in Zimmerman's Timeline Explorer, or use like Microsoft Excel. And so now I'm looking at the prefetch right here, and I could do my prefetch analysis using the Zimmerman Timeline Explorer. I could throw in scheduled tasks if I want. Keep in mind, it's got to be CSV. The JSON's not going to work probably. So I could do my analysis here. If you like using this method better than Velociraptor, but let's get to the fun stuff. Let's use Velociraptor because that's a lot more fun, anyways. If you had shut down Velociraptor, not a problem. Let's go ahead and fire it back up. We'll use our admin command prompt. Remember, I dumped everything into the downloads folder, so let's just go back there. Velociraptor space GUI, just like we did before, and then we're going to do the tac data store. And then we also specified a folder, Velociraptor data. Let me just zoom in on that for everybody, so you get it one more time. This is what we did in the beginning of the video as well too. So Velociraptor GUI, tac data store, and then specify a folder where you want to dump all the configuration data in there. Okay, and we just hit enter. This should load a lot faster because the configuration file is already completed. To import our collected data, we're just going to go over to the hamburger on the left, and we're going to go View Artifacts. Click on View Artifacts, and over on the right where it says Client Artifacts, let's go ahead and change that to Server Artifacts. All right, so under Server Artifacts, we get towards the bottom, and we've got the Import Collections. You want to go ahead and click on this one. This is the important one right here. Server Utils Import Collection, and you'll also see it up at the top here as well too. So make sure you click on that one to go ahead and process your offline collector. So we will hit Collect Artifact, and then go down towards the bottom where it says Configure Parameters. Click on Config Parameters. Let's expand this a bit here. The client ID, we can leave that default. Host name, it's going to figure out that is PC01 on its own, so you don't got to put anything in there. Path is going to be critical. What it needs is the zipped file that we collected. So let's grab the location for the zip file. Here it is. I'm going to just do a shift right click, copy as path, and then let's drop that sucker right in there. So now Velociraptor knows where to find this collection. We go launch, and then up top right here, we're just waiting for this little box that says scheduled. It'll go from scheduled to completed once it's done. It doesn't take that long, even if you have a bunch of data. It'll take maximum of a minute or two to kind of process everything. So it's completed. We are going to go up to where this little caret is, click on that, show all. Now master copy 2025 is my forensic machine. Velociraptor sees that, so don't click on that. Here's our PC01 right here. This is the one that we collected the data from. Don't be worried about this because it's not green. It's Velociraptor still sees the offline collection, even though it's kind of got this little black caution under. That's not a deal, big deal. Click on the client ID for PC01 or whichever host that you're examining, and then go to collected up top here. And here we go. Here's all the artifacts that we put, just to double check: forensics, prefetch, attack, services, etc. Just kind of click in this empty space here. and then go to your notebook. And then here is going to be all of your processed artifacts. So here's prefetch, and here's our second prefetch. Here's our services right here. Scheduled tasks. The reason I put the triage at the bottom of my grocery list is because, number one, this does not get processed by Velociraptor because it is just raw data, but it creates a bunch of clutter, and I just want all this stuff at the bottom of my notebook so I don't have to see it and worry about it. So at this point, then we would start our investigation. And like I said, this video is not really about the investigation portion. If you guys want that, leave something in the comments, and we can explore how to go ahead and sort stuff, how to stack things, how to filter, how to use your notebook to edit stuff and go ahead and find things maybe even a little bit faster than just using the GUI right here. But let me know in the comments if you guys want to see anything more. Once again, this is how to create the offline collector, which I think is really super important in any kind of forensic investigation. It's going to pop up. I guarantee it'll pop up on most of your investigations. So thanks, guys. If you've gotten this far, once again, Paul Adie from Cyber Adie. Like I say, leave a comment if you guys want to see anything more, and thanks for watching. Bye.